What is the number one thing you're watching for?
Cincinnati has to be more explosive on offense. As Hembo reminded me, they only have 6 passes in 7 games of 20 yards or more. That's last in the NFL. Joe Burrow's never been healthier, and the only way, guys, to beat this great 49ers defense is over the top. You're not going to go the long, hard way. They have to make big plays in their passing.
Now, for those who've not seen, Brock Purdy is in the concussion protocol after the game on Monday night. It doesn't mean that he definitely won't play Sunday, but it feels unlikely.
Yeah.
And I'm watching you guys on your fancy NFL Live day yesterday. I'm hearing you say that isn't a problem for the 49ers.
I think the offense will be just fine and won't skip a beat under Sam Darnold. That is not a knock on Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy has been an elite quarterback this year, a top 5 guy in the NFL. Sam Darnold's the most talented quarterback Kyle Shanahan would have had since at least Matt Ryan. And this is a young man that has been in awful situations since he was a part of the NFL, and some good and some bad. But this is by far the best situation when it comes to, do I have a good offense to be in? Yes. Do I have a great play caller? Yes. Do I have the proper people around me? Yes. Now, Trent Williams playing would go a long way to him having some success against the good defense in Cincinnati. But if Sam Darnold's got to be the guy, I have very little issue.
Why do you look so skeptical over there, Tannenbaum?
Because he's been around since 2018. That's 5 years.
Yeah.
5 years.
You don't want to do this, trust me.
No, we do. I want to actually go by the facts. Silly me. But he's been sacked 143 times. He hasn't completed 60% of his passes. I get it. He hasn't been around the best coaching. I understand that.
One of the best coaching.
But at some point, if you're
not
a great
in the
player,
NFL.
at some point, if you're a great player, you have to overcome it. He's not a young player anymore. He's been in the league 5 years.
Harry?
I'm going to say this. Now, this is going to be the best situation that I think Sam Darnold has been in when you look at Kyle Shanahan.
Oh, my God, not even close.
But at the end of the day,
Being on this table would be a better
situation.
situation.
But I don't think he's going to be able to outperform what Brock Purdy has been able to do.
Thank you.
Well, I'm not saying
doesn't have to.
outperform, and I'm not saying that Brock Purdy's job is on the line. What I'm saying is Sam Darnold has to go play. He absolutely is going to play winning football. I absolutely think he's talented enough and good.
But
Sam Darnold's been in the NFL.
In 5 years,
Mike,
there's no evidence of that.
There absolutely is evidence of that. He's got 5 years, 5 head coaches, 4 offensive coordinators. You tell me the quarterbacks that were going to play well in those situations. 1, Patrick Mahomes, the only guy that might have had a chance. Now he's in a place where good offensive line, good scheme, good run game. He's never had people around him. Is he talented?
Absolutely.
Can he make good decisions with the football if given the opportunity to do that?
All right, look, I have to hold this here. We're going to come back to it, I promise. What do you need to see from Tua against a good New England defense?
Yeah, I think the big thing is understanding that defenses, I don't want to say have a blueprint of how they want to play, but there's a certain example from both Buffalo and Philly of playing 2 safeties deep, a little bit more zone, not overreacting to the motions that have created some free stuff. So the efficiency of their offense is going to be a big deal. The challenge for Mike McDaniel is trying to find the answers, committing to running the football and being effective while they're running the football. We've got to see if Tyreek Hill is going to play this week because he is such an integral part to their offense. I don't think Miami needs to change anything. It's just their margin of error when teams are going to force them to be efficient. We've seen it with Patrick Mahomes. We've seen it with Josh Allen. We've seen it with Lamar Jackson. When these high-flying offenses get going and teams force you to play boring and more efficient, your margin for error is smaller, and that's where that offense is going to have to be kind of live in.
Mike T, I've had a lot of people, dismiss is too strong a word, but really kind of diminish what the Dolphins have accomplished after the loss last week against Philadelphia, basically saying they've put up a lot of really gaudy stats against bad competition, and when the 2 good teams they've placed, when they've stepped up in class, they've really struggled. What are you seeing in the Dolphins? How legit is this offense?
This offense is extremely legitimate. It's really on the other side of the ball, like can they make plays from a championship standpoint, and I think getting Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey back at some point will help them. But even without Tyreek Hill, they have so many weapons. And if you go back to that first game against New England, Greeny, it was really the 8 missed tackles that New England had that led to a lot of explosive plays. 3 run plays that were explosive, 4 pass plays that were explosive, and that was the difference in the game.
Are you down on the Dolphins? I mean,
No,
we
I was just going to say,
this week.
we got to caution everybody just kind of thinking the Dolphins aren't one of those elite teams.
Yeah. Here's
Here's the reality. The Dolphins are getting 3 guys. They're going to get Devon Achane at some point back, and then those 2 corners that Mike T just mentioned, they're still a very, very good football team where Buffalo, who we love, and a month ago was the best team in football, are losing guys, unfortunately, because of injuries. That's the difference. Miami is getting reinforcements where it feels like everyone else is getting picked off.
All right, Mike Tannenbaum is our general manager. Mike T, we've given you a homework assignment, and it is called Make Me a Trade. Let's start with Saquon Barkley. The Giants have suggested they're not going to trade him, but what do you say about that?
After they lose to the Jets on Sunday on Monday, I've been on the recipient of a Giant loss. The world's going to look different. They should trade him for the Baltimore Ravens. It would be for a third-round pick and then a conditional second-round pick, Greeny, if he's on the roster next year for the year after in 2025.
Now listen, we talked about this one yesterday. If just let your mind go to a place where Lamar Jackson with Zay Flowers and Andrews and Odell and everything else has Saquon Barkley standing next to him when he's calling signals, that's an unstoppable offense.
Yeah,
Yes?
you might as well book the plane from Baltimore to Kansas City for the AFC title game. That's how good that football team would be. Because Baltimore is tremendous right now, even without Saquon Barkley. This is the best pass game we have ever seen in Baltimore up until this point. It's only going to continue to get better. And the zone read that has been notorious. Remember when Lamar gets the snap, he holds it to that defensive end. Is the defensive end going to go outside? Well, then I'll hand it off. If the defensive end is going to crash, I'll keep it. Well, that hasn't been the case in Baltimore this year. That's lacking. It's the worst, I would say, it's been since Lamar has been there. If you got Saquon, so the best pass game, and that zone read gets back, unstoppable.
A dynamic player, and it's funny you brought up the zone read. The second play of the game, they ran a zone read, right?
Yeah.
And Lamar Jackson has 4 options on that play.
Yeah.
You have Zay Flowers coming in motion to the right. You can pull it, throw it to him in the flat, throw it to Odell, in which they did. You can hand it off, or Lamar can keep the football. I don't even know how in the hell the Detroit Lions could have been right in that situation.
Now add Saquon.
But the dynamics of this offense in which Todd Monken was in his bag versus Detroit, you add a guy like Saquon Barkley, start the bus.
It would be like the Warriors in their heyday on
Or
grass.
cancel the bus. All right, next one here. The Eagles have already made a trade with the Titans. They got Kevin Byard, but why should they call them back?
Because they're going to get Derrick Henry and a 7th-round pick, Greeny, for a 4th-round pick in 2024 and a 3rd-round pick in 2025, assuming they extend them. And what Derrick Henry would be is a great finisher. I love DeAndre Swift, but give the ball to this guy with the ball in the lead in the 4th quarter, and they're back in the Super Bowl.
Danny, you buy it?
No.
Oh.
DeAndre Swift die?
No, he's
He's
still
the
alive.
second leading rusher in the NFL since week 2. He's got 511 yards.
You see the Arizona Diamondbacks get to the World Series with a great bullpen? This guy's your finisher.
They don't need Derrick Henry. DeAndre Swift looks unbelievable in this offense. The last thing they need is to take carries away from him. He's a guy that can go over for 1,400 yards this year. He's an upgrade over Miles Sanders, who's a good player. This one, I love the Saquon one. This one, absolutely not. Philadelphia does not need to do this.
The only reason I disagree with you, Dan, it's literally to this extent. There are some things you just can't have too much of. You can't be too rich, you can't be too handsome, and you can't have too many running
They have
backs.
Rashad Penny. They have Kenneth Gainwell.
I get the handsome one.
But this is what I'm that's what I'm saying. I want to get to one more in here, and it is, I want to have more time for this, Artie. It's my fault that we didn't because I went long in our first conversation. But I want to get to the Cowboys because we had a little bit of a back and forth on this yesterday. You think they should go after Davante Adams?
Without question, 5 years ago, they go after Amari Cooper. That was a great trade. Davante Adams is under contract for this year and next year. Give up a 2nd-round pick, and you are right there going to the Super Bowl with CeeDee Lamb. Everyone's talked about the struggles in the red zone, Greeny. You have Davante Adams with CeeDee Lamb. That's a huge difference.
See, here's what's fascinating to me. Because yesterday we talked about the Cowboys getting Derrick Henry. And so you could go one or the other way on this. Or do the Cowboys want to be the ground and pound team that the coaches continue to talk about? If so, Derrick Henry is probably the greatest ground and pound player the league has ever seen. If you want to go the other way and open up that offense a little bit, Davante Adams. Clearly the Cowboys have fallen behind the Eagles. What do you like?
Can I say this?
Why are you laughing?
We're having this conversation.
Yeah.
We don't even know what the Cowboys' offensive identity is right
Well,
now.
that's my point.
Isn't that crazy, though?
Yes.
In week 7, week 8, we don't know what their offensive identity
But
is.
a trade
but
like
I do
this,
know
this would decide it.
they need an offensive weapon, period.
Right.
I think because whether you want to go the run route, whether you want to go the pass route, if you get a guy like Davante Adams, I do agree with Mike T. That's going to eliminate a lot of things, especially red zone wise. And you put somebody opposite of CeeDee Lamb. But D.O., you had somebody else in mind.
Well, I'd like Darren Waller to go there to
Which
Dallas.
is another great choice.
Let me hit on this real quick. So we're going to trade for Davante Adams, who's a little bit unhappy, at least publicly has been outspoken that they're not getting him the football enough, and go to a place that can't get CeeDee Lamb the football enough. Like, that's my issue with this one. I agree. It makes sense when it comes to, like, football aspect. But one, they have struggled to get CeeDee Lamb the ball this year. And two, if we trade for Devontae Adams, CeeDee Lamb is done in Dallas. That's part of that. So he's done in Dallas.
Let me circle it around. If we put, I just hijacked his trade.
I don't think he's done, though.
I want Derrick Henry on the Cowboys. They're talking about wanting to run the football. They want to have an identity they don't have because their running back, Tony Pollard, is not that guy. This guy is that guy. You put him on the Cowboys, and they could be the team they keep saying they want to be.
This one makes a little bit more sense to me when it comes to the reality of the football team and capability and realistically, can they do it? I do think it matches the identity. The challenge is, again, are we taking touches away from a player that we think, because we could sit here and say ground and pound, we also have to be understanding that explosiveness matters. Derek, I don't know if he's going to create a ton of explosive plays for their offense. I think Tony Pollard does.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to push back on the CeeDee Lamb thing. Look at A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Like, the league is thriving with 2 A receivers. That's what CeeDee Lamb.
I lived it. I played with Roddy White and Julio Jones, and it worked out just fine. Those guys were best. All of us are best friends.
How many times did you get the ball thrown to you?
Well, when those guys and Tony Gonzalez, you throw that in there, where to get the ball.
So
They wouldn't drawing up a damn play for me. I'll say that right now.
Fair enough.